exporting. The file that we were working on to create, that's a max file. We want to import this and we want to bring it to Unity. I am creating something called a Unity HDRP. So let's see, if I make new project, you have a 3D core, and then you have like 3D HDRP. Will I do HDRP? Joe, let's just do a core one for now. Let's just do a core one, and then I'll go over HDRP in a different time. So I basically need to get this into this. How familiar are you all with like 3D imports? Export and import? Nothing? Okay. So let's have a look at what we do. So there's two ways to export from a scene. Again, remember that ideally my pivot point should be down at the bottom, so that's where it's going to spawn from. The naming, this is where it's important. Depending on what kind of game you're working on and what studio you're working on, people will have different naming conventions. So some people might be like, this is crate underscore like high poly underscore 01, if there's going to be more of them. It depends on the studio you're working with. Whichever team, whenever you're working in a team, try to standardize these so they're easy to see. So whether it's like, so let's say sometimes it's crate first, so the name of the item, it might be also like decor underscore crate, so then everything's under decor, if that makes sense. So your naming convention is important just depending on where you work with. It seems like a small thing, but it's pretty big when it starts getting into tens of thousands of assets and you're trying to find this one asset. Excuse me. So when you're about to export, I can export like this straight away, excuse me, and it will work in Unity. Over time, you kind of know which modifiers are there allow you to export. Sometimes a modifier won't allow you to export. So let me show you an example. I'll make a copy of this, and I'll show you an example of one. So this is like copy of crate that won't export. I'm adding something called a turbo smooth. A turbo smooth adds much more like segments. It basically kind of like does a subdivision, and I can keep going higher. So depending if I'm trying to get something like this, I can start with something like this, and then it will kind of like smooth it out. I can even do it by smoothing groups, for example. So if the smoothing groups are separate, they won't be smoothed out. So this looks fine in Max, but when I export this won't work in Unity. Certain modifiers just won't work in Unity. Now, if you're ever in doubt, and this is a little bit important, if you're ever in doubt, you can always do something called a collapse, which is, let me make another copy, equal create one, convert it to editable poly, and you see the way I have all these modifiers in for that crate. If I right click on the crate, convert to an editable poly, it will flatten all of those. So now I've lost access to all the modifiers. They're all gone, but they're still, all the stuff that I've done to it is still there. So the unwrap is still there, the edits I've done are still there, but it only starts off as an editable poly. This is generally non-reversible. Like obviously it's saved in my history, but once I close and open again, that's non-reversible. I won't be able to get that history back again. It's still there in this one. So again, depending on what you're doing, sometimes you may need to collapse it to convert it to editable poly if you're having issues. Most of the time though, it's fine, especially if your top modifier is an edit poly. If your top modifier is an edit poly, it usually exports fine. Okay, I know that was a little confusing, but so let's export. If I export this right now, it's going to export as one object with three things, because there's three things in my scene. If I just want to export one of them, I can click on it, File, Export, Selected Only. Okay? If I hit Export, it's going to export everything in my scene. Sometimes you want that, sometimes I don't want that. So for this, let's export. I'm just going to export everything in my scene. So all three of these will be exported out. I'm going to put it on desktop just so I can have access to it. Great, quick export. Oh, sorry. Let's go back there. File, export everything. My default is Autodesk.fbx. That is what I want. All this other stuff are different file formats for different types of software. So like if I'm doing architectural, for example, we've got AutoCAD. If I'm doing Illustrator, I can actually export it as vectors. If I have a set of splines, because splines are just paths, so I can export as vectors as well. There's a bunch of different types here, but what I want is FBX. FBX is a interchangeable file format that technically, if I open FBX in any other Autodesk software that also supports FBX, it should bring in everything that I've done to that 3D model. Okay, so even if it's something that's not supported by the other program, it should convert it. Now that's in theory. In practice, sometimes it doesn't fully work, but most of the time it does. For going to Unity or going to Unreal or going to any other game engine that supports 3D, it's almost always FBX is the best. The only exceptions are, do you see .obj here? That's a very, very old file format. .obj supports it doesn't support animation, and it doesn't support material embedding, meaning it won't come in with the textures already embedded. FBX will. So .obj is good for if something's happening, your model's not exporting properly, or it's an old software package that won't accept FBX, OBJ usually will work. There's other stuff that's like .stl, that's for 3D printing, and .wrl for like medical devices and stuff like that. But really, we just need to care about FBX, just so you know. So .fbx, I'm going to call that desktop. Great. Oh, sorry. So just file, export. Like here? No, before that. To get to where, sorry? Sorry, we just moved. Okay, so file, export, create for Unity, and then the FBX would throw me up a bunch of different options. Most of these options are not important, but some of them are. So, for example, geometry, turbo smooth. I added a turbo smooth modifier onto my crate. That's the one on the right. I can choose to export it. Unity won't accept it, as far as I know. It might accept it now, but I don't think it does. But that's me ticking that. Smoothing groups, I do want that because I want to contain the smoothing groups that are in the model already. Sorry. Yes. And then a bunch of these stuff here, a lot of them, we don't have to go through all of them, but realistically, if they're unticked, you probably don't need them. What you do need, smoothing groups. If you're only exporting an animation, this is the future if you have animations, animation only. That's if you're only exporting an animation, okay? Again, this one, convert deforming dummies to bones. That's only if you have animation. If I have it ticked, it's not going to do anything, so it's fine. Preserve edge orientation, that's fine as well. So basically, like, look at my screen. Anything here is usually fine on the geometry side. So I'll just leave that there. It should be in the video. The animation is a giant tick box. Again, we're going to ignore that because we don't have an animation. So we're going to ignore all of that stuff. I don't know why I have cameras on. Cameras and lights should be off because I don't want to use any of the cameras and lights in my scene when I go into Unity. And then there's this option here called Embed Media. Embed Media allows me to, you know, that texture that I've applied to my model, that was embedded, meaning it'll come in. If I send this one FBX file to anyone, it will have the model, it'll have the position, it'll have the geometry information unwrap, and it'll also have the texture attached to it. That's if I click Embed Media, okay? I don't have Embed Media on, then it won't do that. Again, FBX supports this, not a lot of other file formats do. I'm going to turn off Embed Media. The reason being, I want to show you how to create the material. I know some of you created material before. I just want to show you the process. Again, of going through it. So that's exported. You can see it on the bottom left, and like exported out. And I'm going to go to Unity, create folder, Unity models. Right click, import new asset, and go to desktop. Create for Unity, and you see the way it's imported as one thing, one object with 3 separate assets in it. Okay, and that's exactly what I was saying. If I export the whole scene, everything will come in a lot of separate pieces. That's still fine, because let's say I drag to Unity, all 3 of them are together, but they're all like parented, so I can still create a prefab. I can still create a prefab that is its own individual bit, its own individual piece, and it's just referencing this FBX and it's all the models inside. So sometimes you'll see where someone will make all the decoration for a scene, for a level, and they'll export it as one giant FBX, and each individual like prefab in the game just references one of the prefabs here, one of the pieces of prefab here. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Okay, so you see the way I said the Turbo Smooth wouldn't work? This is the crate that's supposed to be the Turbo Smooth crate. That was supposed to be this one. And Turbo Smooth is not supported. So again, if I wanted that to be supported, let me go back here. Right click, convert to editable poly. It is now an editable poly. This will be supported now. Okay? File, export. I'm going to export everything. What I'm going to do is, and this is very common, I'm going to overwrite what I have. Okay, already existed. Yes, this is all fine. So in Unity, this is the crate that didn't have it, right? And this is the imported, all the 3 crates imported. What I'm going to do is I'm going to like literally just copy paste, overwrite this, and this will update everything in the game. So just in case I haven't covered that, holding shift and then doing any move will make a copy. Or shift and rotate will do it as well. Any kind of like motion will, or I don't even know if you can do it with a scale. Shift and scale. It does. So any kind of like editing, if you're holding shift, will copy. All right. So as I was saying, I exported this because I hadn't collapsed this one, and I override it. So let's see. Instead of like, imagine I made a scene with loads of these, right? They're all prefabs. Let's make it an actual prefab. So that's an actual prefab, and then I made a scene with loads of these around. Also see the way they're spawning directly on the ground, like on the grid, because that's where the spawn point is. So I've made loads of these, and then I've just realized, oh no, that was meant to be the rounded one. Oh, I made a mistake. I need to now like delete this and then re-import everything, and it'll take forever, and then replace it. No, I don't have to. Why? Because I've used prefabs, and because I can just replace the source file. So what I can do is right-click, show in Explorer, and this shows me where that 3D model scene is. So there's the .fbx here. Create for Unity. But remember that I exported a new one. I exported a new one onto the desktop. So create for Unity is here. I'm just going to copy Control C. Go back to my Unity assets folder. They're the same name, so it's going to ask me when I paste. It's going to ask me, do I want to overwrite it? Do I want to replace? Yes, I do. So I'm going to replace that file. I'm just showing you what happens in place. You don't have to do this. And you see the way on Unity, it's all automatically replaced already. Because if I replace the source asset file, it will replace what the prefab is referencing. So it's just, again, an easy way when you're developing if something goes wrong with one of your 3D models, or you're making an edit, you don't have to like completely delete everything you're seeing and start again. You can just replace the 3D model in your Explorer, in where the assets file is. Don't import it into here because it'll just make a copy of it. But open it in Explorer, copy paste replace it there, and it will replace it. Okay. So now next stage. Let me put up another grade. Let's put up one of the other grades here. Okay, they are all using no material, so I can create a material. I should have done this before I made. It's okay, I made precaps, so it's fine. So right click, create material. I'm going to call this create material. And if you look at the create material, there are the maps that I was telling you about. So albedo is there, metallic is there, smoothness, normal map, height map, occlusion, detail. These are all the maps that I was talking about. The only ones we did we talk about occlusion? Occlusion is kind of like little shadows. If I have, okay, see the way like a TV on the wall has like a little shadow behind it. That's kind of occlusion. So it's also because of light, but it's when two objects are close to each other, especially at an angle, like anything where anything meets the surface. There's a tiny micro shadow. That's occlusion. Okay, so that's an occlusion map, and you can create a map for that. Height map will actually displace geometry. So a height map is like, if this is a flat surface, I can draw like black and white stuff. Black will push it down, and white will push it up on the map. So for my albedo, what am I importing? I'm importing that texture that I made. Create texture here. And in that material, albedo goes in there. Oop. Oh, it already updated. So then this material goes onto one of these, and let's override. Okay, so that's fine. That's just a texture. Let's delete all these crates that are awful. I just want to see the nice one. And control crate. Come out here. So we just have one crate to do with, and I will pre-cut this crate. Okay, so that's nice and textured, but it doesn't look like normal maps. There's two things it doesn't do. It doesn't look normal mapped, and it doesn't look like it has any, like there's no metallic, right? Because this is metallic and this is wooden, but they both are reacting to light the same way. So let's deal with the metallic and wooden first. Let's see, in Unity, I think that the metallic is white. Unity. I'm pretty sure metallic is white, and what's not metallic is going to be black or dark. So let's open in Photoshop and I'll show you. Sorry. When I imported it, I just right click import access. Yeah, I exported a PNG from Photoshop, and then I imported it. You can import PSDs, so you can import a Photoshop file by itself. I am a little bit old school. I like working with PNGs. Sometimes the PSD used to have problems. It probably doesn't anymore. So I'm going to manually make my own metallic map. So let me show you what that looks like. So I'm just going to do. You don't have to do this. I just want to show you what I'm trying to do. So I'm making that area white, and everything behind it. So actually, I should invert that. Okay. So I think, if I remember correctly, it's always black and white, right? It always uses a black and white image. I think if I remember correctly, black is, oh my god, black is going to be not metallic at all, and white is fully metallic. So let's export this to make sure I'm okay. File, save as. Save copy, PNG, create texture underscore, and this is another again naming. So some people call it underscore metallic. Some people call it like underscore MTL. Some people are just underscore M. Doesn't matter. Just as long as you know. I'm going to call it like MTL, so for like metal. I should have called the other one albedo. Cool. It's saved. Let's import that. Okay. So if I go to the material, I should be able to drag this into the metallic. And that should work. Did it? Oh, why hasn't it applied? There we go. Sorry, let's do that again so that I apply that material. Apply that material. And then I drag that to metallic. There you go. And that's correct what I was saying. Everywhere that is black is not metallic at all. Everywhere that is white is like 100% metallic. Okay? So this allows me to control. And then I have the smoothness slider here. And the smoothness slider is just a global smoothness slider. Let me put a light next to this so it's easier to see. Okay, so there you go. You can see the smoothness now. Let me intensify this a bit. Okay, let's go back to material. So that smoothness slider, if I drop it down, no smoothness at all. You see the light gets spread. The highlight, this highlight hot bright point isn't as hot. But if I increase the smoothness, it increases. Now it's global, meaning that this is increasing the smoothness everywhere for both my wood parts and my metal parts anywhere. So it's a slider because my metallic doesn't have any kind of smoothness in it. What I can do is smoothness source metallic alpha. What I can do is use the metallic file to tell it where it's smooth or not. So let me just show you. I'm going to erase something. It's using the alpha channel. Alpha channel controls transparency. So if I raise a little bit here, like that, then everywhere here should be, I believe, less smooth, and everywhere here should be smoother. So let me see. So file, again, let's export. Oh, sorry, save copy. We're going to overwrite the one we had before. Overwrite this. Yes, overwrite. Okay. And again, remember, in Unity, instead of completely re-importing, I can show an Explorer, right-click Show an Explorer, and I'm just going to overwrite that texture, okay? So copy, and then just overwrite it in Unity's asset folder. Yes, replace. So I don't need to delete it, re-export, relink it, just overwrite it. And you see the way that's overwritten? And half of it is, it may be a bit hard to see. You can kind of see the parts that I erased off here. Can you see that? Let me increase the smoothness so it's all more obvious. Okay, there you go. That's much more obvious. And I'll change the light to red. So you can kind of see the smoothness affects half of it with the place, basically the parts that I erased off. And that transparency is controlled. As like it should be. So that's how you would control it using a black and white and transparency, like using the alpha. Again, in a different engine, the maps may be different. So it may be like metallic is black and white, but then smoothness is another black and white map. And everywhere that's black is less smooth, and everywhere that's white is more smooth. It just depends on the engine, but in Unity, it combines both of those. Yes?
Really by erasing part of the image, you also lose the
Good. So that's a very good like question or whatever. So I don't, as long as I completely don't erase everything. because the way transparency actually works is when I erase this, I'm not really erasing the data. What I'm doing is, if I go to the channels in Photoshop, I am kind of, but I'm creating what's called a alpha channel. Where is an alpha channel? That's an alpha channel, and basically, like, by default, uh, whatever I erase would look like this, right? It will be a separate channel. You don't see it. You don't see it here. You only see it in the in this channels. Now, usually that's hidden. I'm just like converting it to show you, but that's what it's doing behind the scenes. Now, it used to, depending on the file format. Right now, I'm on RGB 8-bit, but I think if I do like TIFF, it will show you the alpha channel. Image mode. If I do, I don't think CMYK will do it. No, CMYK gives me different ones. There's one of the channels would show me in I don't remember, but in the old days it would have like an alpha here. Now it seems to be integrated. But basically, like every image is made up of a red channel, a blue channel, a green channel, RGB. Those are merged, and then the transparency is controlled by the alpha channel, the alpha block. That's the black and white that like whichever is erased or not erased, it controls the transparency. Again, in the alpha, I think black means it's transparent, completely transparent. White is completely opaque, and then gray is completely green. But nowadays it's like merged in. But that's what it's doing. The data is still there, so the red, green, and blue channel still hold the data. It's just the alpha channel tells it, okay, be transparent here, don't be transparent. But it's confusing. But like, I get what you mean. Like, let's try. Let me completely erase everything here. Make it to 100%. Let me just keep erasing. Oh. Okay, let's see what happens. So copy paste. And you see the data is still there. It's just like but I've lost. Oh, I have lost some bits. So if I completely erase it, I do lose information. Okay. Any other questions so far? No good. All right. Let's also look at something like called the normal map. How familiar are you all with normal maps? You all know how to use them? Although I don't need to come. Okay. So a normal map, I usually would generate this normal map from a software package. Okay. A normal map again is the red and blue stuff, if you remember. Normal map like this, and depending on where the red and blue is, it will control where it goes to. Now I can do this thing called, oh, there we go, it's right here, a bump map. A bump map is the old version of a normal map, and what a bump map did is, it's an ancient version, is it's like black and white. Black goes down, white goes up, and if you have a black and white map, and then gray's in the middle. So I can use a bump map and convert it to a normal map. How do I do that? So let's take this, and literally all I need to do is make a black and white image. That's all I need to do. It's not going to be perfect. So if you look at this image, let me convert it to grayscale. Image mode, grayscale. Merge. Oh, that's all. Let's just use that. I'll do image adjustments, black and white. Okay. So I've converted this to grayscale. I use like an adjustment layer to make it black and white. But anywhere that's like black, it will go down. Anywhere that's lighter and white, it will be pushed up. Now it's not going to be perfectly accurate because this is hand painted. So like these highlights are meant to be like shiny highlights. They're not meant to actually be like pushed up, but it'll work okay for what I'm trying to do. Later, when we go to Substance Painter, I'm going to show you how to do it like accurately the modern way. But this is what you would do in an old school way. And if you're trying to make a game that's kind of low poly or like a really low style, or if you're really just trying to make stuff fast, this is a quick shortcut. So it's black and white, or even in Unity, I think I could just make a copy of this and then make that black and white. I think can I do that? I will change the texture type to normal map and create from grayscale. Apply. So you see the way what it's doing? It's basically what I'm doing is I made a copy of that image. I told it to be a normal map instead of default, so it wants to be a normal map. I told it to create it from grayscale, so it's going to take the black and white, and then exactly as I was saying, the black bits are going to be pushed down, the white bits are going to be pushed up, and it will convert that to a normal map for me. Now I have a bumpiness slider here that controls like how high and low it's pushed up, so I can slide that up, and then a filtering slider, so how sharp is the detail. I'm going to make that smooth. Let me just hit apply. You should see a change here. I'll undo that. No, I can't. So this is what it looked like. It's very noisy, too much stuff. I'm like, oh, that's too sharp. So I'm going to make it smooth. And it's too bumpy, so I'm going to drop it down a bit and then hit apply. And now it looks much nicer. Okay, and I can tweak that as much as I want. I don't have to like be stuck with it. I can keep tweaking that. So let's go back to the material, and where the normal map is here, drag that into normal map. You see the way it's updated, and now it actually has detail, and the detail reacts to light. That's cool, isn't it? Again, this is a cheap and easy way of doing it. We will be doing a much better way in Substance Painter, but for now, this is quick and easy. Again, if you're making something for like a last-minute project, or if you are trying to get an old school look, this works and it's fast. Okay, let's see what else we need. We're okay with everything else, I think, for now. The wind is like needs to chill. I'm gonna drop the smoothness because you see the way when it's too smooth, I'm starting to get like lost information over here. Just like it's too. But as I drop it, that looks a lot more realistic. So like, just know that even with metal is almost never like completely smooth either. So, and that looks pretty good. Like, and it looks like maybe a PS2, PS1 game. And again, if that's the look I'm going for, that works for me. Cool. So Substance Painter used to be separate, but it got bought by Adobe, as all good things are. And now Adobe owns it. But on the plus side, this means you have access to it through your Creative Cloud. So if anyone has those problems with Creative Cloud, that should be fixed in the next few days, and then you will have access to Substance Painter. If you can also download Substance Designer while you're at it, if you have space, that would be great. We don't need it though; it's not as important as Painter. Painter is much more important. Where is my Painter? My GPU is outdated, but this should probably still work. Welcome to Substance Painter. I'm not going to download a new one just yet. So this is Substance Painter, and you can see already, like, one of the things that it does is these materials down here. So remember when I said PBR? PBR is physically based rendering. PBR is usually made up of the albedo map, the normal map, the metallic map, the smoothness map, all that stuff. Substance Painter has a bunch of maps already predetermined and put in. Again, I'll go into this in more depth and detail next week. But for now, I just want to show you what you can do. So I'm going to go like new. Let's make a new file, template Pbr, and even at the start, you can do these things where I can select the type of material that I will be outputting for. So you can kind of see there's a bunch of stuff here. Don't look at this Dota 2. There's a bunch of stuff here for different types of software. If we scroll down, We got Unreal Engine 4. We will have Unreal Engine 5 support, obviously. And we got Unity HD render pipeline as well. So they're already predefined. I can also at any time just choose like a normal material, a regular PBR material. So I'm doing PBR metal roughness alpha blend. So what that means is it's PBR, it's got metallic, it's got roughness, and it's got alpha. So it's got transparency. And then later, when I finish texturing, I can export it. No problem, right? So I can export it anytime. I can change the materials. Again, it's quite powerful. For the file, let's select that cube. Asset design, Dropbox. No, where is it? Desktop, asset design. Where is my file? Where did my file go? Maybe it's an asset design. Oh, it's there. Sorry. Crate for you. Okay, so that's my crate. It's already unwrapped, so that's good. You can also automatically unwrap for you. I don't want to do that. I don't know why it does this. It always says like, "Ooh, do you want to auto unwrap?" I do not want to auto unwrap because I spent ages just unwrapping it for myself. Auto unwrap will be it's okay. It's not great though. If you're unwrapping something that you don't care about, like if it's a rock and you don't really care, it's going to be like 100 miles in the background. You don't really care. Yeah, you can use auto unwrap. But for something that I've gone to the bother, no, I don't want auto unwrap. Don't worry about any of the other settings. Just leave them off. And then normal map format, that's between DirectX and OpenGL. OpenGL is usually for web, or mobile. DirectX is usually for like PC, like it's using DirectX. So I'm going to leave it at DirectX for now. Document resolution, and this is a bit confusing. Document resolution is how high the resolution of the materials it's going to show me are. So I don't know if you know like the term like 4K materials, 8K materials, whenever you hear people say that. Basically, that's more detail because it's higher resolution. The weird thing about Substance is it works referencing high resolution materials, but what it displays to me is what it shows here. So like if let's say that gold material up here, top left, that is probably a 4K material, and when I apply it to the model, it is a 4K material being referenced. But what it will show me in the document resolution is only 1024. Okay, so it's only showing me a lower resolution because then it's easier to work with. My computer doesn't explode. When I export it though, I can export it up to 4K because the source material is at 4K. Okay, I know it's a bit weird, but that's what we can do. So let me just add this, okay, and we should see, fingers crossed. Oh yeah, I forgot there's all three of them. And then to the right, this is a 2D version of the same thing. So then my UV unwrap is here. It is Alt middle mouse to move instead of rotate in 3ds Max. I know it's confusing. Alt and click to rotate, and then yeah, that's it. And scroll in and scroll out. So the way this works is I can do two things. I can paint. Again, I'll have a much more detailed Substance Painter intro next week. But I just want to show you, I can paint directly on it. See, I can directly paint on the model, which is nice. Or most likely what I'm going to do is like the materials. So if I have this aluminium material, I'm going to use that. Just drag it here to the layers. And you see the way it's applied to everything. And it shows you how the material works. The right hand side, that's my UV. Remember when we had the textures and all my UV pieces were there? On the right hand side, that's showing my UV. That's how it looks. It's a flat texture. And then here is what it looks like on the actual object itself. I can even see on the layers, see where it says base color? I can see like the metallic on that. I can see the normal map. I can see the opacity. So I can change like the different types of maps that I'm looking at. And you can overlay materials. So I have that. Let me put a wood material here. And let me just add. Don't worry, we'll go over all this stuff again. I just don't really have time right now. And basically I can mask, I should be able to mask off. Oh, good. It's weird. I don't know why you- Okay. So I can mask off areas, and you see the way like, so the wood material is showing in the middle, but it's not showing in the side. Also, I should be able to just rotate the material like this, because I want it to line like that. Okay, so you see the way the wood grain is now following this way, which looks better. And then like the diamond thing is a bit weird maybe, so let's use, I can do anything, let's do fabric for fun. So I can add it, so even like add blackness, and I want to show, maybe let's put fabric on. So I can have it so it's like texture like that. And that you can kind of see how you could build up different layers. What I'm doing is I'm having different layers of materials and I'm essentially masking off. So I'm telling it like if you have a layer mask in Photoshop, it's very similar. Anywhere that's black, it will not let stuff show through. Anywhere that's white, it will let stuff show through. And you can straight up like just normally paint as well. These are the materials, some of the materials you get by default, but you can also go to look for more materials. Now the question is, I actually don't know. Because now that it's bought by, yeah, obviously. Now it's bought by Adobe. And now you can kind of see these are a bunch of materials that you can get. So let's try, tell me which one you want. Ooh. Whisker basket, okay, let's try it. That one has opacity, so this one has transparency. I don't know how this will work, so let's find out. So I can just download the SBSR. I think I might need to sign in. I'm assuming I signed in with my, oh dear, not supported. Okay, let me try. So you might need to make a separate account actually, which is quite annoying. Oh, it is. Yeah, because they bought it, but they haven't transferred the. Which is fine, I guess, to sign in personally, but hey. Say again? What do you use Mixamo for? Wait, where's my verification code? Oh, I think I always get confused with this. I remember sitting here for like 15 minutes once. Oh, why? Like, why not just send it? Data terms of use because Adobe owns it now. Okay, so it comes in as something called a SBSAR. Let's do it from start. Click on that. Thanks to Kirtin Satya. Download SBSAR. SBSAR, that is the thing. Just gonna save that here. I don't know if I click this, will it open in Substance automatically? But I'll show you the proper way, which is I should be able to. Let's try. Let me click it. Does that open in Substance? You used to have to drag it in. No? Oh well. Okay, so desktop. Oh, it's opening in sample. So I should be able to just drag that SBSAR into Substance Painter, literally just drag and drop. And it's going to ask me what this is, and I'm going to say, under undefined, I'm going to say this is a material, because I know it's a material. And then it's going to ask me where do I want to import it to. Do I want to import it to, just for now, only current session, only to this project, or to shelf? Shelf means I'll have it like forever in any project I open. I'm going to do it to shelf, because why not? I like the maker. And then now it's there. I have that material, and I can just use it. See? And you see the way it's transparent as well? Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? So that one has because when I was setting up the project, I made sure to select alpha blend. I need alpha blend. Alpha controls opacity, if you remember. So if I didn't have alpha blend as a material type, I wouldn't be able to have this transparency. I could change it later, but it's just easier to have it inside. Good question. Let's try. So remember, the whole thing with 3D is that it only displays one polygon facing you by default. Let me actually, let's try to mask this. I'm going to paint it. So I can also do this. I can paint on the mask. So I'm going to allow this area to be a nice little. So in Substance, I can see the back of it. This will not be the same in Unity. Okay, so I can see through. It looks kind of cool, but it's not going to work like that in Unity. It's just going to be transparent in the back. Okay. So I just wanted to show you this because you can also mask using a brush. You can mask using alphas. I can mask using like text, so I can have like Basil and Baker if I wanted to. But this is the power of Substance. And again, once I'm finished with all of this, all that layer, I'm going to export this. It's going to give me those maps that Unity is asking for. So the maps that is like albedo and the normal maps and the metallic map, it's going to automatically generate those for me, and they will look like this. It's going to be like exactly correct to what I need. And I can do a bunch of other stuff in here. I can bake stuff. I can there's so much stuff I can do. We won't go that crazy just yet. What we'll do next week is I would like you to. Ooh, look at the weather. I would like you to think of something that's relatively complex that you would like to model, and then you as a group, like in Discord or whatever, you decide what you want to model. So I've had battle axes, that was painful. I've had swords, I've had hammers, I've had like lampposts, we've had spaceship one time, a simple spaceship. And what we're going to do is we're going to model it all together in that one class, and then we're going to texture it in Substance. And then I'm going to go over all the sequences of like what you can do in Substance, because I've only scratched the surface here. All I've shown you is adding little materials and then masking them off. There's a million things you can do. So we won't go crazy today because there's a lot of stuff to go into. I'm just pause it for